Hello, my name is Maria Arias, and I'm the Executive Director of Law School Yes We Can. At our program, we strive to serve underrepresented students who want to go to law school. We focus on low-income and diverse students who are first generation in college, and we mentor them throughout their collegiate career. One of the things that our program has now been focused on is obtaining internships for our fellows. Today, we have the benefit of a discussion by the Honorable Kimberly Tyson of the United States Bankruptcy Court for the District of Colorado, and Magali Rocha, a student at MSU Denver and a Law School Yes We Can Class of 2016 Fellow. Thank you for joining us both today. Judge Tyson, let's talk a little bit about yourself. Your background, where did you grow up, and where did you go to school?
I was born in New Jersey, but we moved out here right before my 5th birthday, and we lived on the western slope in Glenwood Springs. And then my dad decided to go to law school, and so he went to the University of Colorado in Boulder, and we moved to Boulder and lived there. And then my folks moved us to Colorado Springs. So I grew up mostly on the Front Range, but most of my growing up was here in Colorado.
And why did you decide to go to law school?
Well, he and I shared a background. We were both scientists. I went to Smith College in Northampton, Massachusetts, because I wanted to see another part of the country. And so I went away to school and I majored in biology. And my dad had been a chemist and had a master's degree in chemical engineering and then went to law school. And legal analysis is very similar to scientific analysis. So the thought process was the same. But what I loved about the law, or what I perceived when I was looking at where I wanted to go, was that the law opened up so many opportunities. You could be a lawyer in a firm, you could be a lawyer in government, you could be in business and use your law degree as sort of a supplement to business. It just opened up so many opportunities, and that really appealed to me.
Great. Can you describe your law school experience? Did you enjoy it? Did you feel like you fit in?
Well, I think like all law students, it's a little overwhelming at first, but I loved it because I had had an undergraduate program that was quite rigorous, and to be back in law school with really interesting fellow students and interesting faculty, it and I love learning, so I loved that about law school. I have to admit I wasn't wild about the exams, but other than that part, I really thoroughly enjoyed my law school experience.
Did you work in the legal profession before you graduated from law school and started practicing?
I actually graduated from college and I wanted to see if my degree allowed me to earn a living for myself. So I worked 3 years between my undergraduate graduation and starting law school. And I graduated in 1981, and most of you won't remember this, but there was a big recession going on. We had um, gas lines to get gasoline in cars. We had shortages. It was a fairly tough economic time. And everybody said, your resume looks lovely, but you have no experience. And I worked temp jobs because I wanted to support myself. And I found I learned a lot in those temp jobs. And the last year before I went to law school, I worked for a law firm because I wanted to make sure wanted to invest the time and the resources of to go to law school. And I worked for a law firm, and I was the receptionist and the secretary and the part-time paralegal and the bookkeeper, and so I got to absorb a lot of what lawyers do, up close and personal.
Did you have any mentors who helped you through law school?
Yes. I had wonderful professors, and one in particular was a woman by the name of Marilyn Yarbrough, and she was the very first African American woman tenured professor, law school professor. And she had such a wonderful ability to know when I needed a hug and when I needed a swift kick. And she doled them out accordingly. And she always encouraged me um, to think beyond what I thought my capacities were. And you need to have somebody tell you, you can be anything you want to be. And she was one of those people.
And what made you want to become a judge?
I wanted to give back. I spent 30 years practicing bankruptcy law, um, and I love the practice. It's I learned something new with every case. It's I think one of our most important social safety nets, which we don't think about, but it's a way to help people get back on their feet, to help businesses get back up and running and save jobs. It's an area of enormous creativity, and I love the practice. But I wanted to give back, and I thought I was encouraged, and I thought um, I think it's an area where I could give back even more than I could as just a lawyer, where I'm working for one client. Being a judge, I can help more people than just my clients. So that's what encouraged me to do that.
Terrific. Judge Tyson, you're an avid supporter of Law School Yes We Can. How did you first get involved?
I first learned about it when a very dear friend of mine passed away. Andy Volin had been a mentor, and um, one of the organizations that was listed in the firm's obituary was um, Law School Yes We Can. And I looked it up and was really intrigued with the program and encouraging diversity in our profession, which we desperately need. So I became really enthralled with the program.
And have you had any mentors in the program? Mentees?
I have not yet. I have to admit, but well, Magali has been worked with us this summer in the bankruptcy court, and I'm hoping to do more. We're working on putting together. The pandemic has added extra wrinkles, but we're hoping to do a program for all those that applied, because we want to keep encouraging the folks that applied for the internship to continue being interested in the law and the judiciary as potential career paths.
Terrific. Thank you, Judge. Magali, thanks for being with us here today. Can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Yes, so I was born and raised in Denver, Colorado. I spent most of my childhood moving around, coming from a low income household. My first language is Spanish, and eventually I became fluent in both English and Spanish.
Great. Are you the first in your family to go to high school or college?
I am the first in my family to have graduated high school, the first in my family to receive an Associate of Arts degree. I will be the first in my family to receive a bachelor's degree, and finally, I would be the first in my family to go to law school.
Terrific. Where are you planning to go to law school? Where would you like to go?
I would like to go to Boulder.
CU Boulder. Why did you join Law School Yes We Can?
I believed at the time as a high school in a sorry a senior in high school. I believed that it was the next step. I really had no direction on where to go, what steps to take, and I think that at the time I truly believe, and I believe it now, that Law School Yes We Can really helped me with that.
And how did it help you?
It helped me with from very simple things, how to make a resume or how to be in a professional setting, networking, also your posture, and we had I don't remember the exact name of the workshop, but they taught us how to sit in a courtroom and things like that.
Terrific. Now, Law School Yes We Can is a long program, all 4 years of college and a mentoring team. What would you say to someone looking at going into college for the first time, possibly being the first in their family to go, about the additional commitment of studying, possibly working, and also going into the program? Would you say they should still do it?
Absolutely.
And why?
I think it's important to invest in your future, and I think the best investment that I've ever made, because this program does require a lot of time commitment, and it's been rewarding.
And the program has a mentoring team, usually teams of 3 mentors. How was your relationship with your mentors?
Started off with 3 mentors, but it went down to 2. So both Melissa and Mary have been supporting me and guiding me ever since, I took my first step on college campus.
And were they there for personal support, educational support, professional support, all of the above?
All of you.
What aspect of the program helped you the most?
It would be the mentoring, definitely. I couldn't. There's a language barrier in my family, right? My parents don't speak a lot of English, so I couldn't ask them, what class should I take this semester, or um, what can I do about my financial aid, or any questions that I had in regards to college. I couldn't ask them, but I did have Melissa and Mary there for me.
What would you say to students preparing to pursue law as a career based on your experience thus far?
I think the best advice is to know yourself and to also pace yourself. I think that a lot of students have this mentality that you have to finish in 4 years or you have to go to law school right after you graduate. But I think everybody is programmed differently and everybody moves differently. So know yourself and to be confident in the decisions you make.
And so, are you taking a traditional path to law school, or are you taking some time out to work?
That is still undecided.
Good for you. Judge Tyson, back to you. I want to talk a little bit about internships. Some organizations only focus on law school students for legal-related internships. Do you think that organizations should consider college students as well?
I'd love to see them consider college students. I, having been with firms before I came on the bench, and I've only been on the bench 3.5 years, so the memory is still relatively current. Um, Law firms have outsourced a lot of their non-legal positions, and so I think young college students could potentially get, or more likely be able to get, internships with solo practitioners or smaller firms that have not outsourced. But I was thinking about that because I saw the question, and I think one of the other areas that might be explored is to talk to the organizations that are handling the outsourced work in firms and see if they won't help create some internship programs. I think my time spent that year in the law firm taught me an enormous amount. Um, I would hear things and they would be sort of random comments or random things, and I wouldn't have a context. But over time, I began understanding more and more, and those pieces began making a coherent picture. And I think just having had that experience before I went to law school was enormously helpful in understanding what I was learning and how it fit in. So I I think internships, if possible, with firms is a wonderful opportunity. I think we may need to be a little more creative as to how we find those internships, and encourage firms um, that this is a really helpful program.
Judge Tyson, you're involved in a year-long internship program with the federal courts. Can you describe it a little bit for our audience?
This is a pilot program that the Administrative Office of the Federal Courts put together. And Judge Arguello, who I know you all know, and had served on the diversity committee for the federal courts, um, lobbied hard for this district to get one of the internships. I think there are 15 maybe around the country. I don't remember the exact number. And while some of the other programs have sort of stalled out because of COVID, Judge Arguello insisted we not, and that we move forward, and that we whoever our intern was going to be would have to be as flexible as all of us are having to be in this odd world that we're living in right now. And so the hope was to give Magali an opportunity to work with not only the bankruptcy court and the district court, but the 10th Circuit, which is all within a 3 block radius of each other, and with other parts, I think probation, the clerk's offices, just to give her a sense of the diverse number of opportunities that are available within the federal judiciary. And um, I think it's so important. When I was in law school, Marilyn Yarbrough put together a program, what was we called the Skills Enhancement Program. KU was really good at recruiting minorities, absolutely appallingly poor at keeping minorities in the law school. And this was an effort to make people who were first generation lawyers and first, they were probably the only person in their family like Magali to go to college and the like, to give them a greater comfort level, because it is a different world. And it's a world, I can remember Henry, one of my students that I worked with, saying, I don't fit in anywhere right now. And to give he and his colleagues a place to fit in. And we are a very diverse society, and our judiciary needs to reflect that, and it doesn't right now. And so that is what this program is designed, is to really not only open, I think, the judiciary's eyes, but to open um, the eyes of young people who might never have thought of the law school. Magali and I laugh because until she came over the first day to work at the bankruptcy court, she didn't know there was such a court, which I'm pleased at one level, but we're here. And so to give those opportunities, I think, is enormously important. There's nothing like seeing it from the inside.
Magali, so tell us a little bit about your internship thus far. Where have you started and where are you in the process? And what projects are you working on?
Like Judge Tyson said, I started off in bankruptcy court, and I moved to the chambers of Judge Arguello, and I worked with Matt and Kat, and right now I'm finishing up my first week at intake. And some of the projects that I worked on thus far is updating the bankruptcy website, which is really fun. I got to see the bankruptcy court website for almost all of the states and compare it to the one in Colorado. Another thing that I worked on, finding, reading these cases up in chambers, reading these cases and determining what's the issue, what are the facts. A lot of reading, but I think it's very beneficial for me as a college student and a student who will go to law school. And this week I've worked on opening cases. I've been able to see how complaints come in from the mail to going into the system and going upstairs to chambers.
Great. Do you think that working at the federal courts is going to help you decide what area of the law you may pursue?
Definitely. I think by the end of this internship, I will narrow down the option to 3. So
Bankruptcy will be one of them, I'm sure.
I'm sure it will as well. Thus far, what is your greatest takeaway from the internship program? Like, have you had any aha moments or, wow, this is how it works?
I think I'll have to go back to diversity. Right? I always knew that the legal profession didn't have much diversity, but I just never had a visual of it. And now that I'm in these areas, I've been able to see women in high positions, and for that to me is very motivating, right? Because we don't get to see that, and I think as of August 2019, there only 26.9% of sitting female judges.
What about women of color or men of color in the courtroom?
I've seen a lot more than I anticipated, and that's also a good thing.
Great. So, Magali, what would you say to someone who is thinking about supporting Law School Yes You Can, Yes We Can, as either a mentor or a workshop presenter or just in general attending some of our events? What is it that you want to convey to them? Why should they get involved?
Needed, right? So it's difficult for any college student, right? But for first generation, for DACA recipients, for minorities and students of low income households, it's very difficult for us. And I think having these programs is really essential because as I'm thinking about it, I don't know where I would be without law school. Yes, we can. And it's given me much more than I've ever expected anyone or any program to give me.
So, can you describe what it's like to be the only one or to not look like the others in your classroom? How does that affect you, and why does this program help you get over that? Because I think having myself been an attorney over 30 years ago, remembering the law school experience of being, not the only woman, but only two of us were Hispanic in a very large law school, it was difficult. And fast forward all these years, and it's still happening. But I think for the benefit of our audience, I don't know if you feel comfortable describing an example or an experience of like the feelings when you walk in, and how do you overcome them?
So when I started college, I attended Red Rocks Community College. There wasn't at the time a lot of diversity. So it was fall 2016, and there was just a lot of tension on campus because of elections. And I realized one day that I was the only minority in my class. And, I was never taught that when I was little, or I had no idea, right? Until I was there. And it was intimidating. It really was because I started to question myself, do I belong here? Am I smart enough? Am I good enough? And I think what really helped is listening to Judge Arguello describe her experience of going to law school and how I overcame that. It was really hard. It was really challenging because you have a lot of thoughts, right? Of will I do good just as them? Will I be good? And will I make it? Is this going to law school? Is it for me? Am I capable? So she had mentioned that instead of, having that as an intimidation, to have it as your strength and prove to everyone in the room that you were just as smart, right? Despite what you look like, despite, if you have an accent, despite everything. And it really helped me to, speak up in class, participate. And a lot of the events that we had at law school, yes, we can, really helped me. Seeing a lot of lawyers of different backgrounds, ethnicities, it helped me. Okay, this is I know I'm good, right? I know I'm in good hands, and I know I will have the support.
Judge Tyson, any closing comments for us today?
Um, Around 40 years ago, President Carter looked at the federal judiciary and said, they all look like me. And he made a concerted effort to make the federal judiciary look more like our country, which is a wonderful, diverse um, patchwork quilt of backgrounds. And the judiciary is continuing to try and continue those traditions, and we will be the better for it. And so programs such as Law School Yes We Can are incredibly important to reaching the goal that our judiciary and the bar reflect our society. So I think programs like this um, should be supported, and young young lawyers to be who might never think of law school. Um, I hope to continue to open those eyes, because we need you, and we need a diversity. We need a bench that reflects who we are as a country, um, because we will all be better for it.
Thank you, Judge. And Magali, any closing comments for students out there who are feeling some of the same things that you have felt? Any words of advice?
I think the only advice I could give is that you deserve to be in that classroom. and you deserve to be in that university, and you're just as smart.
Thank you. Well, thank you both today for spending time with us to talk about your experiences in the internship in the legal profession as an aspiring law school student and lawyer. And I want to thank anyone listening today and encourage everyone to look at the Law School Yes We Can website, lawschoolyeswecan.org. And we also have a LinkedIn and Facebook pages so that you can see some of the other stories of our fellows. Thank you very much for joining us today.